even making fun of white people together is just so nice. You know, it's just like we're watching Shogun and like every time the white character is doing too much, we're like, just go away, white man. And it's just like, we just get to enjoy that together, and it's very nice.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Making everyone happy on vacation isn't easy, but you know what is? Going to Aruba. All you have to do is walk out your door to find pristine pools, relaxing white sand beaches, and an island teeming with outdoor activities that'll put a smile on any face. You won't just feel great, you'll all feel great, filled with a calmer, more peaceful vibe that radiates Aruba's warmth. And the best part is, it never fades. That's the Aruba effect. Plan your family trip at Aruba.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit Shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Welcome to the Man-Whore Podcast.
Shout out to the Pervy Panthers, to the Slutty Saints, shout out to the Kinky Commanders and Big Titty Titans. This is Billy Procida, and you are listening to the Man-Whore Podcast. Boop, boop, sex-positive conversations. A little bit of a journey reading the entire title. The Man-Whore, what? Podcast, sex-positive? Conversations? We'll give it a try. And I'm glad you did. Welcome to the show if you're new. And you know what? Welcome back if you're not. This week on the show is part 1 of my conversation with YouTuber, media critic, Princess Weeks. Part 1, yeah, that's how good this is. And I'm really excited to share my conversation with her about going from polyamorous to monogamous, about queerness, about interracial dating in just a little bit. But first, friendly reminder that manwhorepod.com has all your Man-Whore podcast needs. You want to buy some merch? You want to check out my upcoming stand-up comedy dates? You want links? Websites, they are the original link tree. Yeah, and manwhorepod.com, like if you were there, you would know that tonight I'll be performing at Pete's Candy Store in Williamsburg. Free comedy show. Make that a place you check out. Sorry, my mother is texting me. My sisters were freaking out last night because my mom was out, I don't know, being independent and having her own life and sometimes not immediately answering the calls of her daughters. It's like, let a lady party. Come on. I read an interesting article this morning from The Cut over at New York Magazine. It's titled, Was Casual Sex Always This Bad? It's written by Emily Leibert. The article starts off with many paragraphs about dudes trying to choke women during sex without asking. Quote, Hannah doesn't believe that her sexual partners were acting out of malice. If anything, it seems they were making an attempt at tending to her needs, however misinformed. As another person in the article is quoted as saying, in doggy, it's always a big-ass thumb in my ass for some reason. I've referenced a study that I've linked to before. I will find and link to again in these show notes about how more cishet women would have more casual sex if they thought the casual sex would be good and safe. And I've said for a long time that casual does not mean disrespectful. It doesn't mean disconnected. It doesn't mean disgraceful. Casual sex just means, hey, we're not trying to turn this into a big romantic thing. We're just trying to come and maybe laugh a little bit with each other. So often, I've been in bed with women or been on dates with women where I can tell they are on the defensive. And they're on the defensive because of the way the last 5 dates treated them. And I find myself needing to like kind of disarm their defenses. Not as a way to try to get around the, so I can, but just so that they can get comfortable. Shocker, comfortable women, way better in bed than terrified ones. The article says, quote, Taya needed to get to know herself outside the expectations of hookup culture because hookup culture is dependent on you having no boundaries. And that makes me sad to read because that's not what it's supposed to be. Emily writes in the article, the issue isn't so much that the sex is always outright unenjoyable or ill-intentioned, but that consent to casual sex still seems to be operating as a catch-all for anything men only assume women want. Anyways, dudes, if you want to be better in bed, it's not always just like a fingering technique you need to learn. That fingering technique means nothing if she's terrified, if she's uncomfortable, if the whole thing's not consensual, whatever. So giving a shit is like a fingering technique. Empathy is something to learn to be better in bed. And frankly, it tends to attract, I know this sounds crazy, but women seem to want to fuck dudes that they think are going to be good in bed and are going to treat them well in bed. And then sometimes when they look like Fabio, or whoever the Fabio, the more contemporary version, Zac Efron, even he's getting old. Whoever it is, fill in the blank. I don't know who it is anymore. Michael B. Jordan. And sometimes it's just because you look like Michael B. Jordan. But generally, I'm just saying, casual sex, it's supposed to be good and supposed to be communicative. And if there's more communicative sex, and if there's more communicative, and if there is more, let's see if I can get this. If there is more communicative casual sex, fucking got it. If there's more communicative casual sex and good casual sex out there, I am of the assumption, and I'm just a dumb comedian with a fuck show, but I think my hypothesis is there would be more casual sex offered and swirling around out there. But again, this isn't as simple as, dudes, you need to learn how to do a thing in bed. You need just to learn to give a shit. Guys, if any of you are listening to this and thinking like, I'm confused, link in the schnotes, go read this article in The Cut by Emily Leibert. It was very good. Describes a lot of things I hear from a lot of women after they fuck me, after they have fucked you. Before I get to my guest this week, Princess Weeks, let's do a quick fan whore appreciation moment. This is when I give a shout out to a member of my fan whore community on Patreon, and this week it is Jay. I'm not gonna say more. I'm just gonna say the name is Jay, and Jay, you know who you are. Jay, this is crazy, but I'm unrepped. Can you believe it? Doesn't someone out there want 10% of this dick's revenue? You too can become a member and receive a slew of great rewards, including a shout out on the show, ad-free episodes, bonus episodes, access to private community spaces, and more. Become a member today for as little as $3 a month at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. If you have an iPhone, join on a desktop or in your browser, not on the app, to avoid Apple's 30% fee. Then you can download the app and use it all you want. Okay. Princess Weeks is a media critic and YouTuber. I first met her at the after party of a documentary I've talked about before. It's called Chasing Amy. And Princess Weeks is in the movie. So I saw her in the movie, and then I happened to meet her at this after party after the screening, and we got to talking, and we were talking about queerness, and we were talking about Kevin Smith, and we were talking about movies and talk. She just seemed like someone like, wow, I should talk to this person. Shot her an email, never heard back, no big deal. And then I was out in LA with my girlfriend, and she put on one of Princess's videos. I was like, oh yeah, I asked her to do the podcast, never heard back. I should probably ask again. So upon a repeat ask, we got Princess on the pod, and it was so fucking good. Oh my god, this is the next 2 weeks is going to be like my favorite manwhore podcast in a beat. Like this is, I could have talked to her for hours. And as someone who does video essays on YouTube, she also could have talked for hours. She's so good that I felt bad not releasing the bonus episode we recorded to everyone. So that's why this week you're going to hear about her. We're going to talk about interracial dating, about polyamory and monogamy, about relationships. And then next week, we just talked about Chasing Amy and Kevin Smith movies. So I'm not even going to hope. I know you are all going to enjoy this conversation and next week's conversation with Princess Weeks. But first, let's pay some bills. Enjoy ad-free episodes at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
No, just let me know if you need me to repeat anything. I know I tend to talk a lot.
That's perfect.
Just so if you need me to rein it in, just let me know.
It's not a short podcast.
Yeah,
sometimes people go long story short. I'm like, long story, medium to long, please.
Yeah, long story extended edition. Taylor's version.
Yes. My girl is very excited that I'm having you on.
Oh, that's so exciting! I love when the girlfriends like me. It's like, yay.
She. I was just out there in LA, and she watched a lot of YouTube, so she'll just throw on these YouTube videos or think of something. Go, ooh, I want to show you the thing, and then pulls up one of your videos. I was like, oh yeah, I asked her to do the pod last year. I should follow up.
Yeah.
And that's when I reached out.
Awesome.
So when you said yes, she was like, yes.
Shout out to you, girlfriend.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Hit weird button.
No worries. I have one of those Zooms too that I use.
Yeah, I just sometimes if my thumb hits the thing,
yeah.
Because I'm not wearing headphones, I'm like, is it playing fucking?
Is it being
bongos
weird?
Behind me? I don't know what that touchpad does. I've been doing this 10 years.
Exactly. And you don't upgrade it. I've had the same Zoom for 6 years. I'm like, it's not broken, so why would I?
It's a great machine. Yeah. I upgraded from the H4 to this, but I've been using this for 5 years.
No, it looks great. That's my what I finally do. If I decide I need to upgrade, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm a visual learner.
Are there still upgrades you feel like you got to do? You've been doing your YouTube channel for how long?
I know, for doing it seriously, probably a little under 5 years, but I've been doing YouTube since I was 15 years old in some capacity. And even before that, I was making AMVs.
What's an AMV?
So an AMV is an animated music video. And it was a thing where you would take clips from Disney movies or any cartoons and make a music video out of them. Mm-hmm. I spent my teens doing that. It's why I never got pregnant, but I made some good ones. If you look up Sexy Naughty Disney on YouTube, there should be a thumbnail of Mulan doing her hair flip, and I think it's got a couple million views, and I made that when I was 15 years old.
Even at 15 you knew these are very important SEO keywords.
Yeah. It's Katy Perry, I Kissed a Girl, Disney. My video is in the top 5 if I recall, so I did that shit.
Well, it's a good time to say I'm here right now with YouTuber Princess Weeks.
Hi.
Now, when is it like a pimp named Slickback? Do I have to say Princess Weeks every time, or do people ever shorten it to just Princess?
You can call me. You can call me Your Majesty, Her Grace. Princess is fine. That's what my mom calls me. Name me Princess. You can call me Princess.
Wait, Princess is your real name?
Yeah, that's my government name.
Stop it.
Yeah, I'm named after my grandma. My grandmother's name was also Princess.
When I softly emailed about that, I went in assuming it was a pick name or a screen name or username thing, and that's real.
Yeah, that was so funny. So my YouTube name used to be Melina Pendulum, and that sounds like more of a real name than Princess Weeks. And so people are like, is your name Melina or Princess? I'm like, Melina is the fake name, Princess is the real name. And it wasn't until my agent was like, you should just use your real name, you're gonna write books eventually. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna write crazy fantasy with the name Princess. It's gonna really go well for me. But yeah, Princess is me. I am her.
Wow. Okay. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I like I always like when I do very minimal pre-interview questions, as you witnessed, right? It's just relationships. It's just like 2 or 3 questions. I love that the brief answer to those always gives someone, I'll say sexual orientation. Someone just does a big sigh.
Yeah.
They're just like, I don't know. Or so I said,
work in progress.
I asked your relationship status, and you said, I am in a monogamy, and you seem so down. I was like, you don't seem super excited about this monogamy thing you're about to do.
No, I actually, it is, polyamory is great. But I definitely realize that when you are in a situation where you're dating in New York and you're trying to be cool girl and you're like, yeah, I'm like super casual. I was doing polyamory wrong for a really long time. I wasn't good at communicating my boundaries, and I really was not using it, but I think I told myself that I was Samantha, but I'm really a Charlotte. I really do value like intimacy. I think the thing for me is that in a lot of ways, I'm very open. I'm like, sex isn't the most important thing to me. It's really like all the other things on top of it. But I think sometimes when you're insecure and you're trying to fit sort of like a casual mindset, because that's what like a lot of us, especially as queer people, everyone's in like an open relationship and everyone's doing poly and having this many partners, and it feels fun and cool, especially when you're being safe and you're taking care of yourself. And I think that having a lot of sex made me realize the things I liked, the things that I wanted. And at the end of my previous relationship, before the one I was in now, I kind of realized that the most important thing for me, regardless of like monogamy or polyamory or openness or anything like that, was like really understanding what my wants and needs were in a relationship versus like things that I was doing to acquiesce to an idea of keeping a person around. And I think that I'm actually really happy in my relationship and being monogamous, because it's not necessarily about the monogamy. It's about like the comfort of like, we talk and we communicate, and that feels good. I think the sigh was just kind of realizing that like I'm going to sound so uncool, because it's like, it's like, yeah, I'm just out in the streets, got a guy here, girl there, they there, and it's like, nah, just me and my boo and my cat.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes people come on and they're worried like, oh, I'm just in a monogamous marriage for 20 years. I don't know if that's going to be interesting. I'm like, I feel like as someone who can't keep a woman around for 2 years, I've never seen a full congressional term with anyone. I think being in a relationship with 20 years is very interesting. I'd love to learn some tips. And then like I can help you, communicate how to ask your wife to put her finger in that place she won't. This can be a cultural exchange. This is fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wait, so what was your introduction to like poly or non-monogamy?
I think I was someone who I didn't date in high school. I went to an all-girls Catholic school.
AMVs. You were
I was making AMVs. I was busy working on art to really do anything like that. Those Avatar: The Last Airbender videos were not going to make itself. I didn't date in high school, and then when I was in college, I really didn't know how to date, because the thing about the thing I imagine about high school dating is that you kind of get used to like the way things move and operate. And I really wasn't. And so like I did the bisexual thing of I fell in love with my best friend in college, and we dated, lovely woman. And then we broke up, and then I dated this guy.
Wait, how long did that last?
Over a year.
Okay.
Yeah, over a year. It was like my biggest significant relationship. It was like my first real, like, this is my like girlfriend thing. I came out and everything with that. And then I started dating a guy. And then at that point, I'd only really been intimate with 3 people. So when we had broken up, I really wanted to kind of like travel. I wanted to explore different things. I also, at the time, once we had broken up, I realized that I had HPV. And that was like a really big thing, because in my mind, I was just like, I have an STI. This is going to I'm being punished for something. Like I did something wrong. And due to a lot of research, including by writer Ella Dawson, who did like a lot of work talking about herpes online, I really learned a lot about like sexual wellness. And like when my HPV was cleared and I got all the shots and I started taking care of myself, I was really committed to like really enjoying sex on my terms and being like very open about what I had been through and figuring out new things. And it was a really good experience. I learned a lot about myself, but I also realized slowly how sensitive I was. I really am someone who does attach during sex. And so even though I was enjoying having these multiple partnerships and everything like that, a lot of cis dudes who engage in polyamory can be very messy. And then when you're also like a hinge partner and not like a primary, there are other problems there where it's like I was in a situation where there was a massive flare where people were sleeping with each other without fully clarifying with everybody else, and it was just a whole big thing. And it just became so much drama. And I was like, I didn't enter this to have drama. I entered this so that I could have little cuddle piles watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And so I think it went from being something in my head that I thought would be like this team building exercise where we like also had sex and we kissed and everything, to me kind of realizing that I had to really figure out what I needed from relationships. And I think also when my last relationship ended, I realized
last year.
Yeah,
Okay.
When my last relationship ended, I realized that I was in a space where I wanted to date for the future and not just dating to have someone around in my house, you know, because I do like, I like to show my affection through like, I like buying people stuff. I like taking people out to dinner. I like doing things. And I wanted to start investing that time with someone who was going to be with me for the long haul versus just kind of like exploring things. Like I know what I like now. I've had enough of everything. I've sampled all the platters. I was ready to start figuring out what I wanted for me.
And what is it that you wanted for you?
I really wanted someone who was a good communicator, who understood like family oriented stuff, someone who was driven, and someone who made me laugh. I think the thing I really
Nowhere
love
in there did I hear height, trust fund status.
No, I'm looking for a man in
color.
finance.
I
Yeah.
didn't hear any of those there.
No, I think the one thing I will say is that I really was also committed to dating someone who wasn't white, because a lot of I'm for those who can't see me, I'm a Black woman, and I kind of realized that like I did not like that so many of my partners had been white. Not anything against them, but I was like, I really wanted to move past that kind of like almost stereotype. And that was also a really good experience. I think some of that racial anxiety I'd come across in my last relationship with my last partner, with my jokes about her whiteness. And I kind of realized like I didn't want to deal with that either.
She was getting upset when you would crack jokes about her whiteness?
Yeah. And I was like, I really don't want to deal with that. And I didn't realize that in the moment, but I realized it after the fact that like I really wanted someone who could be in solidarity with me, but also had their own lived experience about that. I think as I was getting older, those things were just more and more important to me, because especially as someone who makes videos about pop culture and the intersections between like race and gender and ethnicity, it's like I need someone who understands this, who understands that like when I have children, they will be Black children and they'll need to be able to navigate certain ways. And that was really important to me as someone who does plan on having children eventually. And not to put pressure on my partner when he listens to this, but like part of what I like about him is that he gets all of those things, and he's Japanese and Cuban, and so we talk about politics and like, you know, I remember one night I was over his apartment and I woke up and he was like reading Jacobin, and I was just like, I love this dude. And it's like, so we really are able to be partners and talk about race and gender and those kind of things in really deep, interesting ways, and then also watch Buffy together. So I got everything I wanted.
You know, would you find that when talking about race with like white partners, how would that go differently? Because like also, so your boyfriend's not, or your partner, do you say partner, boyfriend?
I'll just say boyfriend.
I don't know, whatever. Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah.
I'm big on. Yeah, I know I'm a comedian who looks like this, but like I'll say the word that somebody wants me to say. I don't really care.
Yeah, it's more like, you know, it's one of those things where like I think when you're a cis bisexual woman, you know the stereotypes like, oh yeah, you're dating a boy, and it's like yes I am, but I've dated women. I've dated,
if I say partner, you won't know it right away.
Yeah. I'm like, no. You know, I feel like I'm at an age where, like, you know, I'm 32. I've dated, like, one of my exes is a trans woman. One of my exes is, I believe they're non-binary now. I had like serious girlfriends. Like, I have no insecurity about that. So I'm proud of my boyfriend.
Yeah, but if you say partner, you can delay that scene of chasing Amy where everyone gets sad.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and I'm so used to saying partner as like as an LGBTQ, so it's like I'm just, it's what I would say first.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that in the comp video too. LGBTQ. I really like that. It's very flowery. Yeah, I just don't like. It's like, you know, I'm not gonna try to control what someone calls me, but like I don't want to call somebody a partner. I'm like, we don't have an LLC together. Like, I want to keep this romantic. It sounds a little too businessy for me,
right?
But
we're not doing a hedge fund yet, so let's.
Like, if we want to build that together. Talk about dating for the future. If that's something we have in our eye, like, I'll play secretary because I'm done with money, and you can build the business or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I don't think it's dumb for anyone to use it.
For sure.
That's the me thing. But with the, you know, so again, your partner's not your boyfriend. Is he's not white, but he's not black.
Yeah.
But, you know, so do you find that the conversations about race? How are those conversations about race different than the ones with your white exes?
You know, it's interesting because it's like, he is from Japan.
Yeah.
So his experience of Asianness is different because he was in the majority.
Yeah.
So he didn't become a minority till he came here, which is such an interesting perspective because even though my parents are both immigrants, they're black. And so, you know, it's kind of like a kind of, you know, it's a total like post-colonial experience. So for him, it's sort of like, he's very intelligent, so he asks questions. He's really into like hip hop and things like that anyway, so he's really curious about learning more. Right now he's actually reading all of W.E.B. Du Bois writing, and he was reading Fans Fanon earlier, and part of why we started dating was because I recommended him this book about Cuba from this writer Ada Ferrer, who is an Afro-Cuban writer. So like, he's always been very interested naturally. And I think that's part of the appeal, is that when we're teaching things, we're teaching each other, and it's not like me having to like spoon feed him experiences and vice versa. We both were already invested in each other's culture in a non-weeby kind of way. So we get to like explore those things together. And I think that's really interesting. Not that my white partners were ever not doing that, but I think that for them, there was sort of like it's not like we were doing a cultural exchange thing, you know. It was more just kind of like them respecting my boundaries and my things. And like, you know, obviously I didn't date anyone who I didn't think was down with what I believed in, but it's just kind of like, even making fun of white people together is just so nice. You know, it's just like, we were watching Shogun, and like, every time the white character is doing too much, we're like, just go away, white man. And it's just like, we just get to enjoy that together, and it's very nice.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, also, again, I guess what I'm getting at is like, did you feel like you had to teach like the white exes a little bit more, whereas in like you and your current boyfriend can talk about how you experience racism in your own ways? Because they might be a little different. I
think there's definitely I wouldn't say that so much I had to teach them, but I do think that, and I say this with like having been in love with all of them, I don't think any of them were really prepared for what it would be like to like raise a child who would be an other with me, if that makes sense. Now looking back on them, especially because I was younger, I was like in my 20s, and I really wasn't thinking about having children anytime soon. But when I think back on them, I think they all treated me with a sense of reverence that was, of course, very intoxicating and really nice, especially when I was younger. But I think looking back, I'm also like, I really wish they had been more interrogative. I think a lot of them were very sort of like, I want to be the good white person. And that's just sort of like not interesting. Like, that's not a personality. That's not really like a racial theory. It's just trying not to be offensive is not the same thing as being racially curious. Or interrogating your biases.
I gotta imagine at some point, like some of that can feel boring.
Yeah, it can feel boring. It can feel sort of like without them meaning too patronizing. And I think, and also there's sometimes there's even a level of apathy of like a feeling like they've done the work because they're with me, and I'm like, I'm a medium toned cis Black woman. I'm not at all like someone who's even as marginalized as some others in my community. So I was always conscious of it, but the older of it, and as I've been thinking more reflectively on like what the things I wanted before I started dating my boyfriend, I was thinking about the conversations I didn't want to have anymore. And the conversation that I did want to have. Because I think no matter who you date, when you're a progressive Black woman, you always have to do a little bit of teaching, even when you're dating within your race or even within your gender. But I wanted it to be someone who wanted to do the work themselves and not let me have to lecture them constantly, because that's not fun.
Right, I would imagine. So LA lady is Black, and so I keep thinking like I just don't want to ask questions, which is awkward because I know she's listening to this right now, but it's fine, whatever. I try to avoid asking questions that I feel like would be like tiring to answer, that I could also find the answer elsewhere. Yeah,
and I think it's part of the experience of dating in general. Excuse me. And I think that when you care about someone and you're really invested in them, it doesn't feel like labor. I think when certain things are failing in the relationship and the dynamics, that's when it really sets in that it's labor.
Yeah.
Like when you realize, I think for me, looking back, it's like both my parents are Black. I have 4 Black grandparents. I come from like a very like loving Black family. And I think for a long time, like when I was growing up, my ideal partner was a Black person. Like that's what I wanted to be. That's what I knew. And it wasn't until like being exposed to colorism and misogynoir, even within your community, you realize that like what's really important for me is having someone who is pro-Black, and would I have liked for that to have been another Black person? But it ended up being the people that I've dated. And I can only move knowing that like, no matter what happens, my part is to take care of like myself, my community, and my own mental space, and the Black people around me. Because I also don't want to bring like, a partner who's a douchebag around my great Black family. Like they can't handle spicy food. Get the fuck out. Like like I can't deal with this.
I think I'm meeting the mom next month.
Oh yeah,
a big family reunion cookout. I'm like, okay,
nice.
Oh,
I mean, you like to eat, so you're already gonna be like, it's great. I joke. My boyfriend went to some like Jamaican place and the woman gave him like a lot of extra food, and I was like, oh yeah, she's trying to fatten you up. I see what's going on here. So that you won't leave, so that you'll be tired. I know how this works.
But what she doesn't know is she's doing you a favor because you like that.
Exactly. It's like
that was what we first connected on. I'll say, and I'll tell them in the intro how we met, but it was like, you were like, yeah, no, Seth Rogen, I'm sad that you got smaller. Yeah,
like I don't really have like a preference in like body type or anything like that. I just kind of like people, Okay. I think definitely like I favor women in general because I just like women a lot. And I'm a homosocial person. Okay. Like most of my friends are women or non-binary people in general, but I just kind of like it's like Jessica Rabbit syndrome. I like someone who makes me laugh. Okay. I like someone who makes me think. I want to be entertained. I want an equal more than anything else.
Yeah. But what was it about with Seth Rogen? Like, what was it about that? Like, oh, but I liked it. I thought he was sexier when he was bigger.
Well, I like body. I like being hugged. I was always like I was a much smaller person when I was younger, and so I just kind of liked being hugged. My mother's side of the family are all like much more rounder people, so like that to me was normal. And I think like Seth Rogen with his laugh and his humor and just like he just looks so like handsome. And like so when he lost weight, I was like, oh yeah, he lost weight, but I thought he was hot regardless because he like made like it's like with everyone with like Jack Black. Everyone thinks Jack Black is hot. Yeah. I no notes. No,
I still don't get it.
Yeah,
but like people go like, I will fuck the shit out of Jack Black.
Yeah,
and I go like, can you post that publicly, like on Maine, like not on your Reddit alt account? Can you just post that? So I'm like, so at the Naked Show last Thursday, whenever people are listening to this, podcasting's a lie, you know, time is fake.
Time is fake.
There was I was doing something. I did a joke. I think I was trying to do a joke about that doctor's visit I told you about. Yeah. And then there's a woman like 3 rows back, dead center, and she just kind of looks like almost sad for me, or said "aw" or something. I said, "Don't say aw." She's like, "Well, it's just some of us are into a body type like yours." I was like, "Are you?" She's like, "Yeah." And I said, like, "Go post that on public.
Yeah.
We need to see it." You know, I know the big boy attraction lags behind the body positive movement for women, and I got no complaints about that. Please go first. But also, it's like, that's how I'm going to believe that you say this and mean it, is when I see you you broadcast it publicly.
Yeah.
And so I would always think like, oh, people want to fuck Seth Rogen because he's funny.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want to know who looks at Seth Rogen and is like, no, I'm waxing it to this. I haven't even heard him speak yet. His name's Seth what? I don't know. He just looks hot to me. That's kind of like why. So that's why I loved about Avengers Endgame was that like Thor got to be this, I'm going to say sexy, powerful hero again. Yeah. And he didn't have to lose weight.
Yeah. No, I mean, like,
I knew that moment was going to happen. I was terrified. I was like, they're going to make him thin with the abs. And then they didn't. I sat there in the theater like, oh, thank God, we can have a fat hero.
Yeah. And he was super hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, one of the things that's been interesting about having gone from being like a very small person to being in a bigger body and getting older is seeing how like the dating totally changes. And like, so my boyfriend now is a very slim guy. And I felt really insecure about my body with him because when we started dating, I was a little bit heavier as well. And I was just like, am I like, I don't think he'd be upset. I would be worried I was going to hurt him. Like I was like, I want to crush this cute guy that I like. I don't want to hurt you, and I would
just
feel
double tap. If
and the thing like he works out. He's super strong. He's got a great body. But even though very into my body, I would just feel like I'm going to hurt him. It's going to be like something's wrong. But then I would also remember like when I was dating my previous partner who was also a bigger person, and I was just like, girl, if I go, I go. Get on it, you know, like, so I think it's always a hard thing of like you have attraction to so many different bodies, but then you look at your own body and you realize how much internalized fat phobia that you're still holding on. Yep. You're just not protecting it outward, you're protecting it inward. And that's really good at it. And that's also toxic, because then I think that you are still regurgitating things. And I think one of the problems that I realized that I had for a long time is that I think that with body positive, and this is my take on it, I don't think you can really understand what bigger people are talking about unless you've been bigger. Because the inability of finding clothes that fit, the inability of feeling comfortable, the way that things are just not built for you, the way people treat you, the way everyone else cares about your health is so abrasive and fucked and mentally destructive that you can be an ally till the cow comes home, but until you've actually experienced that, it's a whole different ball game. Like I remember having conversations with my mother and her being like worried about me and my health, and I was like, Mom, when I was like not eating and a twig, you were not concerned about my health. You thought I was healthy, and I was not. I didn't have a full-on eating disorder, but it was very adjacent to that. And I'm this size, and I know I'm this size, and I'm not totally happy with it, but I'm not going to destroy my health to be thin. Yeah. And we had a conversation where I told her, you know, through your own journey, through all the stuff that our family has gone through, have I ever gone to you and talked about anyone's weight in the family? And she was like, no. And I was like, that's how I want to be treated, because I've never done that, because I think you guys are beautiful. You know, I know where I want to be, and it's not even going to be what I was before. I have no desire to be 120 pounds again. I
think I was 120 pounds in 4th grade. I think during Pee Wee football I was 120 pounds.
Yeah. I think also the thing is, like, you know, with we go through these cycles of like there's positivity, but then it's positivity in a way that you realize is like it's kind of bullshit. It's like, oh yeah, it's body positive if you're huge tits, big ass, kind of tiny waist if you make it work for yourself. It's not like actually embracing like the folds, the rolls, the sweat, you know, all the things that come with those things as well. And I think even when we try to lean into it, it'll be like, there are very few couples that you'll see on TV where both of them are fat, happy, and fucking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's like a big oversight. And it's one of those things where, like, when it happens, I'm like, it's exciting. Like, I think Melissa McCarthy's sitcom that she did a while ago.
Is that Mike and Molly? Or
I think Mike and Molly,
okay.
yeah. That's one of the few ones I remember recently. And also black sitcoms. I think black sitcoms do tend to have two bigger people. I think.
But they're also like older. Their parents.
Yeah.
We're like, oh look, they still got it for each other.
They're still doing it.
We're not sexualizing them. We're just happy they still sexualize each other.
Yeah.
And when you describe, you don't normally see two. I in that podcast I heard you do with Jordan all those years ago, you were talking about like black leads not like having it's always they're with some white partner.
Yeah.
So similarly it's like, well,
mixed body weight.
We'll see someone like happy and fucking and whatever, but like one's big, one's small.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be like a small guy and a big woman, or I mean, and the classic with sitcoms is always, why is that? There's always a big guy with
skinny wife.
Yeah, skinny wife, and everyone's making fun that that's not realistic or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like they're cleansing it for everybody with, well, we'll give you one skinny person, to make you believe this is a sexy situation.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because I just feel like. First of all, I think that the attraction to bigger bodies is so much broader than what we get to see in media, because like I think tits are great. You know what I mean? Like, as someone who I like tits of all different kinds on all kinds of bodies. Butts are big.
On that.
Yeah, they're fabulous. Yeah. And so I just feel like we're catching up on that things. And even with Bridgerton, the latest season, like all of the bad body takes that happened with that season, because we're still not used to, in a certain way, seeing like a fuller body, which even is not, debatable if it's possible or not, but I think that's beyond the point. Someone, big busty, shorter, stouter body, and round being like face. That round face, older, and being like that's hot. And I think what was so shocking to so many people is that when people are like, who's the not hot person in the group, it's like, it's the guy. Like, and I do think he was attractive, and I think that he wasn't styled properly, but he was attractive. But like, people wanted to see her. Yeah. And I think people are just not used to that still. They still are like, it's gotta look like, I forget her name, or like Ashley something. She was like the big plus size supermodel for a while. But she's tall, and she's got like an hourglass shape in the traditional way, and that's what people want. Right. But Penn's not an hour, which there's no one's pretending. Yeah. She's got this thing, like they're like, we're gonna put this type of body in front of you. Yeah. And so when Bridgerton season 3, there's all the talk of like her body type, like big, beautiful boobs or whatever she said. She has perfect boobs, which I was like, thank God someone said it. But then like, I saw when I watched it, like I thought a little bit that might have been a little bit of like amping up like uber positivity. And then we see her naked, and fabulous. Was anyone else surprised? Not that it was a good rack, how good of a rack she has. I was like, there's okay. And that's a grown woman's rack. That was because she's like 37 when she filmed it. I was like, she's 37? She's like, the characters are all like in their she's supposed to be like a teenager, but she's like in her later 30s. The girl who plays Eloise is like 35. Yeah. And Penn is even older. She's like, I think she's 37. I was nervous originally watching the show. I was like, am I allowed to like think she's like the type? It's the bangs. And then I was like, oh my God, thank God. Okay, she's like an of age person, like very of. Okay, she's my age. Great. Yeah, she's grown. They're grown. Fine again. Yeah, you're like, whew. I know. I it's like right now one of my crushes on House of the Dragon is the guy who plays Aemon Targaryen, and he's like 27, and I was like, still a little young for me, but it's. You don't like young? It's not that I don't like young, because my boyfriend is younger than me, but I'm just very, I'm just very conscious of the fact that like, I don't want to like, how do I want to put this? Hold on. I don't want to fetishize youth. I think like when I was younger, I dated older guys, and I just want to be open to all kind of people. But I don't want to fetishize young people. Like I definitely try to like I'm attracted to people who are like within my age range in general, because I want to have the same references as you.
Yes.
I need us to be able to know. You need to know what gargoyles is if you're going to date me. If you don't know what
gargoyles,
gargoyles, yeah,
the animated series.
Yeah.
I knew that one.
Yeah, exactly. Like we can't date if you don't know what that is.
Sure.
If you're like question mark, I'm like, what era of Disney Channel did you grow up watching?
Which
you know,
Boy Meets World? Were you Boy Meets World or Girl Meets World? Like very
yeah. Because we really can't. Because it's even hard for me to like Sabrina Carpenter now because I'm just like I know who you were, but the music is good. But so like I'm very, but he's very hot, and I was like he's 27. I was like yes, that's within the range.
Yeah,
that's among the lowest I would go. So I'm just like he's very hot, and he's like, and I love his face. Like he's just got like such a cool face, and I just love looking at it. The wig is great. He's got one of the best wigs on the show too. It's laid down really, really well.
Is there a, being someone who does a lot of like media cultural criticism, is there a fictional? I'm gonna limit it to TV, just because I don't have enough manga or like cartoon. Like my comic book references are definitely old. So is there a relationship in TV? You're like that's the type of relationship I want.
Honestly, I think I'm in the relationship I want right now. I think.
Or does your relationship now mimic a one, that you've seen in the past on TV?
I think. Let me think about that, because I think all of my favorite couples are like problematic enemies to lovers, kind of things. So, but that's not what I want in real life. I think one of my favorite couples was always Charlotte and Harry from Sex and the City.
Okay.
And that's not what my boyfriend and I have. But I think we're that adorable. Like, I think we're that iconic in our own ways. I think that we really complement each other really well. I think that we like make each other laugh. We're a lot like, I think, Amy and Jake from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Okay. Like, very funny. Like, he's very type A. He's a Virgo. So he's very like, he's got his notes and his list. And I'm kind of like, wacky hijinks. Oh my God, I'm the Jake. I'm just realizing that now I'm the Jake. He's the Amy. Oh, I love that for us. Okay. So I think there are shades of that.
Before we got onto the body conversation, and I didn't intend to focus on race too much, but I did have one remaining question from that is, in sharing y'all's experiences with each other, was there anything that you were surprised by him as a Cuban Japanese man?
I think honestly nothing was super surprising, only because, not to toot my own horn, but I'm quite worldly. But I do think what interested me about him was how broad his tastes were, because when you watch a lot of videos of people talking about their dating experiences in like Japan, South Korea, it's very much like if they're into foreign women, they're into white women, like, and they're all very thin cultures, and I think that's kind of what made me at the beginning feel nervous about our relationship. I'm like, I'm not the ideal body type for like this man, because like why would I be what he would be into? And I think I had to unlearn that. I think one of the things that I have had to teach myself through like therapy and things is like, until someone tells you otherwise, you should take them at their word. Like, trust is very hard, but if you don't trust someone, then you just open so many doors for red flags to just flop right through, because you're not actually setting up expectations and boundaries in a healthy way. So I think just like, despite knowing what, like, how the cultural body types are there, I think I was just always just really like, it felt good how positively he saw me, which I'm hot, so I understand it, but I wasn't expecting it. Sure. And it just felt really good.
As a person myself who like has in the past very frequently not considered myself hot, that was a big lesson of taking the yes for the answer.
Yeah.
Be like, so many women have had to tell me when I would say some comment about my body, like we just fucked. Yeah. We're in bed together still. She has not immediately left. And I may say a thing, she'd be like, I'm here. Like, take that as the answer. Yeah. If I didn't want to fuck you, like if I thought you were ugly, like I wouldn't be fucking you right now. Not certainly not with the lights on. Certainly not with this lighting.
Yeah, with this
is
these
harsh.
studio lights. Yeah, and
I do have a mood light thing. It took 7 women yelling at me before I bought. It's like directly behind you, and it changes colors. I was like,
oh, excellent!
It's that thing that's standing.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very elegant. Viewers at home.
It's something, and it took a while for me to cave. I have hand towels in my bathroom as well.
Amazing.
Everybody, look at me. Almost clearing a little.
You can leap right over it now.
That's my goal in life. Looking like this is like if I could just trip over the bar every day. It's
light cardio, just like oop.
It's really easy.
Clearing it.
I think dudes really don't like the dudes who have not like tried to understand anyone else's experiences but their own. Don't realize how low the bar is.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, I don't know if maybe that's part of the drive where they're like, no, I need to make a lot of money and I need to get the abs to get the girl. It's like, you can, but you don't even need to do that, man.
Yeah.
You just gotta like not be a D-bag.
It's like, it's so simple. I listen to Am I the Asshole threads too much on TikTok.
Okay.
But I just realized that like, red pill content has made certain section of the male population truly psychotic. And I'm like, and I think it's because as someone who is in community with so many women and femmes who date men, I'm like, all we really want is communication, commitment, and clarity.
And like a few orgasms if possible.
Yeah, listen, and we compromise on that so often. It's like,
like
if it was sex alone, we wouldn't even be having these conversations. But
I'd still be dating women, and it's like
hello. But it's really like it's a communication thing. It's a clarity thing. It's kindness, committing to different things. The sexiest thing that I think that my boyfriend does, and I hope he'll forgive me for saying this, is that like he plans things and follows through.
Oh, big one.
I was like,
plan a date night.
Yeah. He'll come up with he took me out for my birthday for a birthday weekend in DC. He came up with the plans. He organized it. He got like, we collaborated. We made a shared document.
You are a nerd.
I know, he's so hot. I love him. But we shared
clearly like a little bit of polyness also clearly genetically in there, because you're like, no, we got shared calendar.
We share a calendar too. That's definitely a leftover from poly stuff. But like it's nice, and then like his calendar is like really well filled out, and I'm like, wow, you be doing things like it's. And I think like just having that there, communicating, and like we do emotional check-ins, and we'll be like, what do we need from each other? And like the last time we've had them, we enacted the things that we said that we needed from the other person. And it was like on both sides. Like, that's it. Like, that's what people want. To be in any kind of relationship with anybody, you need to do the work.
Data question. How long have you all been together?
We have been officially dating for a couple, I would say 4 months, but we were casually dating for like 6 months prior. So
like almost a year of being together in some form. Fashion. And so these emotional check-ins, how often do you do them? And do they only take place like after some sort of event or argument, or do they just happen?
We schedule them and they happen. So, which was great, because my whole thing is like, I cannot deal with thinking everything is fine and then explosion.
Ditto.
It's very unsettling for me. It makes me
warnings.
It makes me think things are a lie. Like I would prefer if you tell me I need space. I'm in a place now where I just believe you and I don't internalize it, because I used to internalize it. I'm an Aries, so but now I'm like, you need space. I'm gonna play Hades. I have one more thing to defeat that game, and I'll be 100%. So I have things to do. And so we do the check-ins, and like we just see how everything is going. And we usually do it while we're already planning to go on a date. We'll go to the movies, we'll have our check-in, and then we'll eat some food. We'll go to Dallas BBQs and we'll talk about stuff, and we'll do that. Like, we already incorporate it as it being a thing that's not going to fundamentally change what's already working. So it's not like we need to like take some space apart. It's like, no, we're going to do it, and then we're just going to keep being together. Yeah. And it's really nice.
I think a lot of people sometimes think, oh, we have to have those talks as a way to like resolve a conflict, instead of like, I think by doing those, you can prevent conflicts.
Right.
Do you know the show Multi-Amory?
No.
It's like, I mean, it started off as like kind of a poly show, but they just kind of give really good communication tips and strategies that like anyone could use for any type of relationship. Doesn't have to be, you know, non-monogamous, but you know, they have these things they call radars, which are basically that, which like having like once a month or maybe like a couple times a month or every other month, but like having we planned a time to sit down and chat and come to the table with how we're feeling about each other, maybe minor things that, you know, tick us off that we want to address. But yeah, I also like it, to go from 0 to 100 freaks me out.
Yeah.
Because I think I could have prevented that if I had known we were at 75.
Right.
I could have been like, I could have already gotten started at work, and it's hard to like fix the, I don't know what metaphor I'm about to walk into. Yeah. It's hard to fix the Chernobyl plant when it's exploding, but
definitely.
I don't even know what type of plant that is, an energy plant, whatever. But when it's already in the red, it's hard to fix it. But if it's approaching, if I know we're in the yellow, I'm like, oh, now let me start so we never get to the red. I don't want to get to the shouting match.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that's been interesting for me is like, I used to normalize fighting as like a thing that couples do, that that it was healthy to fight. And the thing that I'm realizing is like, actually it's healthy to talk.
Yeah.
Like, I saw someone say this on TikTok. It's like, when you really like someone and you guys are talking and you're vibing and you respect each other, what are you really fighting about? And I'm like, that's a good fucking question. Like, you're fighting about the things that you don't say because you don't communicate. You're fighting about the things that they don't do because you haven't said what your boundaries are. They are bigger issues that come up. Like having a disagreement is one thing, but like fighting, like full blown fighting when you don't live together, you don't have kids together, you don't share a checking or savings account, it's like, what are we fighting for? Like, why aren't we just trying to like deal with what we need from each other?
Yeah.
And I think fighting and fighting hard gets normalized as a thing that couples do that have passion. And it's like, passion doesn't have to mean anger. Passion can be so many other things.
Yeah. We can also disagree without shouting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I think those are things that you learn through dating. You know, that's why I think that like dating is so important, and knowing how to date is so important.
Yeah. I like to think I'm a little better at being in a relationship or dating now than I was 10 years ago, because I did a lot. I failed a lot. I did a lot of dating. I saw a lot of people. And when things got more, like, none of them lasted this long. So, like, I clear, you know.
Yeah.
I know. And then I don't know if you know, the origin of this podcast was me interviewing women I'd hooked up with about why we didn't work out.
Oh, wow.
So I was also like, and I'm trying to find out some answers,
Yeah. That's a good TikTok shit. You got it, man. You know, you should put some TikToks up on there. That would be fun to watch.
Look, I mean, yeah, but you know what? I started this 10 years ago when the video was not necessary.
Right.
And I never reintroduced because I go, you know what? If I fucked me, I wouldn't want people to know either. So let them stay anonymous.
Protect the guilty, exactly. Like the names have been changed to protect the guilty.
Yeah, there's no pictures involved. It's not a video podcast. Let's keep them nice and anonymous like that. But I would also love to do a video where women. I mean, the closest I got is like sometimes I used to do live shows pre-COVID where I'd be on stage with like 3 or 4 exes at once.
Oh, wow.
And it would be like one, but then they keep staying on stage as we add. So by the end of the show, it's 3 or 4 women who no longer hook up with me or date me, really teaming up together. Be like, he does interrupt, doesn't he? A lot. Yeah. He always thinks he's right. And that's not my fault because I usually am. And so it's, you know, those would be brutal, but fun.
No, that reminds me of when at my older sister's wedding, my mom and her mom were like ganging up on my dad. And I was like, feminism is great. I don't know why anyone would say feminism is bad. This is amazing.
How do you decide as someone who's been like in the public eye for so long and so successfully? You got like 250,000 something subscribers. I know you know the exact fucking number.
I actually don't. I actually try very hard not to know exact numbers because if they go down, I won't know. I know it's over 251K at this point.
How do you decide what of yourself you share and what stays for you?
I'm still learning it. Even like now, I realize, even now as we're talking, I'm like, how much do you want to share about my relationship? Because I think I'm to me, it's like the biggest thing that's so important about being a content creator is remembering that all of this is very temporary right now. You know, like I still work like a little side day job where I get up and I put in a little time code thing to clock in. Like, I'm not getting caught when the class war happens, girl. I'm with the proletariat. Please don't let anyone get confused. And I think I very much think of myself as just a regular person. Like I don't put on airs, and I also feel like I have to be princess all the time. So like if I'm gonna be princess online, that's gonna be like a part of me that I write and I edit and I curate to be the best of what I need to say, because that's part of it. Is like reason why it takes me so long to make videos sometimes is because I'm researching, because I can't be wrong, not because I can't be wrong because I'm infallible, but because that means people are going to yell at me at like a very intense way. So I try to protect myself, and I have to also realize that like people don't actually know me, you know, like, so I have to be careful in that way. And I've seen so many of my peers really get like dragged and disregarded because they forget that this is not entirely real. So it's so important to me to like remind myself that like I love my online community. I'm so thankful. Like I'm able to like live alone in this fucking city because of them. But I touch grass all the time. Being offline, not putting everything online, even though I would love to do more stuff on Instagram, but I'm like, I want to just enjoy spending time with my friends, my boyfriend. You know, my dad is going through health issues. I want to be with my dad. I really have to prioritize being a normal tax-paying, unfortunately, individual versus like being Princess Weeks, the YouTuber.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, something that I hear a lot of people have done, and then I always go like, it's hard for me to put myself in the same place, is this whole like, look, I was poly, I was doing the thing, I was out here, I was fucking and loving at the same time and all the whatever, you know, and then I'm being monogamous with a cishet man or whatever, just the monogamous part. But what is that like? What I know you said, hey, look, I found what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But sex is still fun.
Yeah.
Novelty's still fun.
Yeah.
What has it been like for you to decide like I can do that, I want to do that, and I'm not feeling like I'm missing out by locking it down?
Yeah. I think a part of it is that one, I love him. Something that he knows. Shout out to you. But I think fundamentally it wasn't working. You know, like me being a polyamorous person was not increasing my joy. I got cheated on a lot. You got
cheated on even though you were already poly?
Yes.
What kind of rules were being broken?
Just without getting too into it.
Okay.
It was a whole thing of like people sleeping together without clarifying it with other people. It was people keeping things from other people. It was people thinking something wasn't crossing a boundary, or like accidentally crossing a boundary because they didn't know any better. It was just a lot of like, oh no, yeah, like we're like I just fell into fucking somebody, and it was just like, what is the point of having options open, of not closing the relationship to then still be disrespected?
That's still wild to me.
And so I was just like, I don't want to deal with that. Like I would rather.
I just want to be cheated on by one person
and
at
then
a time.
break up with them, and then it's over. You know, like it was it wasn't working, and I was like, why am I going to keep doing this? And the thing about it too is like, I think, yes, novelty is fun, people are fun, but like having good sex is also about practice and technique, and you know, having good chemistry with the person that you're with. And it's like, and also like, I don't know, I have a very high sex drive, but also it takes up a lot of time, especially when I'm doing it. But I have other things to do. Like None
of y'all got to experience that little hand gesture she did at me. You were all robbed of that. Sorry, this isn't a video podcast and you missed it, but wow.
Yeah, I got things. Yeah, I just have things to do, and like I really want, and I also have to prioritize the fact that like, as a semi-public person, I want to be with someone who cares about my work. I don't want a bunch of people in my space who I can't trust, and then they're inviting people into our shared space, you know, and like expanding the room. I I like my tight group of people that I'm with. And I think that even though I understand the appeal of it, and I'm glad that I took the time to see if it was for me, I think ultimately what I got is that I really want one person that I'm putting that attention, time, energy, and money behind really investing in something. And that the more it splits out, the less satisfied I feel. And honestly, that having other people to hang out with and do things with, those are my friends.
Some of us like to fuck our friends. I'm just like,
yeah, and I'm not a friend fucker like that. And I think that like I realized that I don't like those blurred lines. I don't like what it can do to a friend group. I don't like what it can do to a polycule. I think that for all the successes that I've seen, I've also seen a lot of pain. A lot of like when people break up, and like it's not just two people. It's a whole family community that's been built together, and that can be really shattering, and it can be really hard, especially because I feel like when you're in a queer situation, everyone still wants to be friends, and I'm like, no, scorched earth that bitch, like get out of here. So I think it's really about, like, for me, I understood that I'm a jealous person. I am somewhat more territorial than I would like to admit. And I want to come first. And monogamy was going to be able to give me that more than, especially because like I was a hierarchical polyamorous and everyone wants to be fucking anarchy. And I'm like, sorry, girl, no.
Yeah, that's not.
I can't. I'm not doing that.
What's weird is like people say like, oh, this is the right way to do it based on like which book they read, which shows me they read like 1.5 of the books.
And it was like, and I've read like, I don't know if you saw in one of my videos, like I did like a polywise, polyherd kind of joke. It was funny. I'll send it to you later. But the thing that would bother me when I would go into like poly groups to like get advice about stuff, it was all very like self-centered. It was like, you're responsible for your feelings, they're responsible for their feelings. It's not your job to make them.
I can guess it because I'm like, oh, they read more than 2. Okay,
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, it's not your job. I'm like, and to me, maybe it's just also like a cultural thing as well. I'm like, if they're your partner, don't you care what they feel? Yeah. Don't you care how your actions make them feel? You're not responsible for their emotions, but like, don't you care? Wouldn't you make different choices if you knew it was going to hurt someone you cared about? Like this idea of like, you're allowed to do what you want and they have to navigate their own feelings and they just have to deal with it. I'm like, that just sounds really mean. Like, why are you dating someone like that? And I get it to a degree. I get it when you're navigating a lot of different things.
I'm not anti that. I just want to turn that from like a 9-10 to like a 6-7.
Yeah.
Where, you know, I might make different decisions, but I also want to know that if there's a decision I really, really, really want to make, that someone is going to be able to handle their shit. Yeah. Unless it actually is like a big emergency. Yeah. Because there's a lot of times I think people go, oh, I feel jealous or I'm feeling a thing. Now I need to make it everyone else's problem also. Yeah. And I'm like, I just think there should be progressions. Like when you have the feeling, you look at it yourself. Yeah. Then maybe you talk to some people. And then if it still isn't dissipated, then maybe we're coming to me with it. Yeah. I don't need to know in real time every time you feel a baddie. Yeah. No. And I think that's a really important thing too. And I've had to learn that as well, of like, it's okay for that's from monogamous relationships too.
Yeah. It's okay to sit with an emotion and realize, is this coming from a place of insecurity? And is it me? Is it them? Are they doing something wrong? Like, I remember I was talking with someone when I was in a polyamorous relationship. They were dating someone who was like, they had moved further away, so we weren't as close as we were. And that was already like, we went from living like 15 minutes apart to like 2 buses apart. So that was already an anxious thing. And they started like, they made a new friend and they started dating this person that was like in the friend group. And I was like, that made me uncomfortable. But I knew that if I said no, that it would lead to resentment. And I was like, let me actually challenge myself. Let me just say it was okay. And I was like, I don't want to see any marks. I don't want to see anything like the thing. And then it was like, they were then swapping clothes. And then like one time there were bites on the body and they didn't realize it. And I was kind of like, you know, like I want to give you space to do as you please. Yeah. I don't want to control you. But if I say that something makes me uncomfortable and then it gets crossed by like oopsie poopsie. Like I understand that I'm being jealous now, but I said that I would be. Like it wasn't like I came out of nowhere with this, or like there was a situation where they were like, I didn't know it was a date until after it was happening. And I'm like, well, that's why you have a cell phone, right? That's why you would text to like inform me, you know. It'd be things where like they would not realize something was an overstep. And I feel like they generally didn't know it. And to me, it was kind of like, but this is like a weird thing to do. And now I feel like I'm going to be the bad person by being like, I didn't like this, because now I'm controlling. Right. And I think that while in their mind I was controlling, and I can accept the fact that that's how it may have come across, to me it felt like I was constantly being asked to not care about intimate things being put in my face that I was telling them I didn't want to see.
Yeah. Instead of having like the extremes of like that some people will go with, like especially the anarchists, it's just kind of like, if I'm willing, like I should make a few decisions a little differently for this other person. Not all of them, just some of them. And then this person can be handling their stuff a little more to themselves, but not all the time, but some of the time. And it's like, if everyone could just like take the notches just a little bit, I feel like we can handle it better. But, you know, fear, jealousy, love, all crazy makes us do crazy things. Yeah, and I realized that like one person is enough. You know, I really one is good. Was this something you independently had like thought of and decided before, you know, making things official with him? Okay, and before you had met him? Yes. Okay, so you were like, when you met him, you were in a mindset of like, I am looking for someone to be monogamous with. Yeah, okay. I so it wasn't a heavy lift for you. No, the thing I really committed to doing in between my previous relationship and the one that I'm in now was I really was in therapy. Like, I need to really figure out what I want, especially because I felt like, you know, I was still young, but I was like 30 years old, 31. And I was like, I really want to like understand what I need. I don't want to just be walking into relationships like, whatever I get's going to be great. It's like, no, I actually do want certain things. And I realized that like, I was really like, you know, before we committed to being in a monogamous relationship together, it's like fair game. Like we talked about like, oh, you're still talking to people. Like, we haven't made anything official. So like, that's not my responsibility. As long as we're getting tested and we're both using condoms and protection, like just be responsible. That's our business. But then when we become a couple, that's when I'm like, all right, so now we are monogamous. Now there's some obligation. Exactly. To me, that's the difference of between like that casual and then being like, we are the thing, is a sense of obligation to someone, a prioritization with somebody. And that's the thing that I realized that I wanted. I wanted a clear thing of like, I want us to have obligations to each other. That goes vice versa. You can ask something of him and expect that if you don't get exactly it, you're going to get a version of it because he gives a shit enough to give you something you said, I really need blank. Exactly. Yeah. Like for it to be, and that's the thing that I realized I really needed. I needed that sense of like, we're going to take care of each other. We're going to support each other. And I think also, you know, when you have parents that are older and you realize, you know, like I'm in a place now where like, you know, talking about it's hard, but like my dad is probably not going to, I don't know how many years I have left with him. So I don't want to introduce him to people who are just going to be like flittering in and out of my life. Sure. You know, I don't want to, I'm a fairly family oriented person, and family can look like a bunch of different ways, but I want someone who wants to commit to that too. Sure. And and I didn't see a reason why that should change. But the fun thing about dating at that period was also just like going on things like Tinder and a couple of fish. And like when you're over 30 and a woman on those apps, it is the devil. Like, it's crazy. Like, when I was in my 20s, those things, it was like, I mean, you still do fine, but it's totally a different kind of energy of like, when your weight changes, when you're older, it's like the people that you end up connecting with are just, I remember one time I connected with this guy on, I think it was not Plenty of Fish, that's the Catholic one. It was Coffee Meets Bagel. And he was like, a cat dad. And I was like, oh my God, what's the name of your cat? It looks so cute. And he was like, oh, my big fat pussy. And I was just like, and it's like, his name is blah, blah. And I was just like,
You haven't even said hi yet. Like, you know, can we do the big fat pussy joke after we say hello?
Yeah.
Like anything else, just so unswagged.
Even I refrained back, whatever many minutes ago when you said I want to come first. And did I do anything with that? No, I left it alone.
Yeah, you let it sit there.
Just leave it. Chill out,
Yeah.
buddy. Sorry.
No, it's and I think I love it.
Gotta...
No, it was just a.
Oh, I'm just checking. Okay.
Yeah, it was a Shazam. I have it on here for a case of emergency. It's like, what are the kids listening to? I love an off-color joke. I'm a millennial. I watched South Park growing up. I can laugh at a joke, but it was just like, even if I just wanted to hook up, I want you to be interesting.
Yeah.
And it's just like, nah.
And the first thing you say is, "Oh, you mean my big fat pussy?" That's not too
yeah.
interesting.
And I'm
That's
like,
6th grade.
First of all, and it's an orange cat, so it's probably a boy. So why are you even bringing gender into this? Like,
and what I guess like the last thing I'll ask about this whole monogamy thing is, as a bisexual woman, are you worried about having had your last taste last year? No,
not really. I think like it's interesting, like when this question gets brought up with people who
I know
like.
it's a hacky question, but
but I'm answering it in good faith because we're having a good faith conversation. Okay. I think that you fall in love with like the person that you're with, and if the person that I'm with was a woman. When I was in love with the one who identified as a woman, I was not thinking about, oh my God, dick is forever gone. I was like, I'm about this pussy right now. I'm about this person. Forget the genitalia. I was about this person. And
but
so
you were about that pussy.
That pussy.
Right
Yeah. So like now that I'm with the person I'm with, I'm like, I'm about him. Uh-huh. And like, I'm not thinking about anything else. And, I think one of the things that is good about having gone through like a proper hoe phase is that like, I've sampled the goods. And it really is like, it's the person that makes the goods good, in my opinion, in my experience. And so like, I got the greatest good I got right now.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Princess, I still can't believe that's your real name. I can't.
You can call me Your Grace. If that's more comfortable for you.
I like how you're like bending the knee is a more comfortable. Yeah, it's
say
Your Grace.
Some people feel like HRH. Like just whatever feels best for you.
Princess Week, Your Highness.
Yes.
Your Grace. Where can people go to find you, follow you, bend their knee?
You can find me on YouTube. I make videos. I'm very happy with them. I'm also still on X. I used to not be on it, but now that House of the Dragon is back, I really like the memes.
You're not doing Threads?
No, I asked my friend about it who does media, and they were like, I don't really see the point for you. And I'm like, say less. But I do TikToks under the name Princess Pendulum. So I do fun little short posts there, and then also my Patreon where we do 3 different things every month. We do movie night where we all watch like a movie picked by a theme. We do watching commentary. We just did the Milli Vanilli documentary, which was honestly really interesting. Mm-hmm. And then we do pilot watch where we watch the pilot of a show and like talk about how it flows. And like I've watched so many amazing pilot episodes through this, and it's honestly made me realize like how hard it is to make a really good pilot episode of television. And like TV is like my second favorite format of storytelling. So
after
books.
Okay.
Yeah, books and on TV.
Where do you not to get into like do a tech talk, but like where do you watch? Do we do Discord? Or
we do it through Discord.
Okay, yeah. We do a movie night once a month where we watch a retro era porn together.
Oh, nice.
But then we do commentary. Mm-hmm. Not during the dialogue. I want to know what the story is, but during the sex scenes, like we can like crack jokes and talk over it and whatever.
Fun.
But, we also use Discord for that. But
we use Discord because it ends up being the best. But it is so much fun. And I love doing with an audience, and that's really, and you can find me there on Patreon.
Fantastic. People check the show notes for all those links to those things. Princess, this is really fun. I'm looking forward to chatting a little bit more. And why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Remember to use protection and get checked out. There's nothing wrong with having an STI, but just know you got one.
There will be more Princess Weeks here next week at the Man-Whore Podcast. Yes, that is right. So make sure that you tune in to hear us geek out on that. For now, we all want to know, what did you think about this week's episode? What'd you think about going from poly to mono? Have you been in an interracial relationship? We want to see your thoughts about this week's show in the episode discussion channel in the Champagne Room. The Champagne Room is our super free, super fun, super sex positive Discord server, and it's totally free to join at manwhorepod.com/Discord. Introduce yourself today and then tell us what you thought about the show. You can also share your comments, your questions, your criticisms, your titty pictures directly with me at manwhorepod@gmail.com. You might just hear your words on the show. Like I said, the bonus episode for Princess was supposed to be next week's episode, so there's no bonus for Princess, but I did release a solo bonus episode yesterday exclusively on Patreon, talking about my recent hacienda encounters. Billy's kind of horny again. Join up at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. If you have an iPhone, you should join on desktop or in a browser so you can avoid Apple's 30% surcharge. But there's over 300 bonus episodes over there. If you ever thought you needed more man-whore in your life, there's plenty of it over on Patreon. But for now, everybody, enjoy your week. Your weeks. What's up, football? I'm excited for that to be back. Anyone else hyped to fast forward through my thoughts about the NFL for the next few months? Oh, gosh, yes. Go Jets. And stay slutty.